Hi everyone, J7Jace here. As you can see from the title of this video, we are going to talk about the top 10 hardest battles in the game, along with some honorable mentions. In terms of criteria, I'm going to be judging these fights based on several factors, like how many enemies we will be facing, what kind of abilities they have, their stats, and of course, how difficult it would be for first-time players going in blind. It was honestly challenging giving all of these a ranking in order, so let me know in the comments what you think are some of the hardest fights, and with all that being said, let's get started. My 10th spot might be a controversial one, and some may rank it higher, but I have to give it to the mandatory story battle at Dorter Trade City in Chapter 1. It's quite tough for several reasons. We can only control and deploy 4 party members, and while we are joined by both Argath and Delita, they won't be nearly as good as they're controlled by the AI, and in most cases, won't have adequate equipment or abilities to take out multiple enemies. On the topic of adversaries though, there are some strong enemies, especially the 2 Black Mages, Knight, and of course the Archer with a longbow in a very advantageous position. For first-time players, this will be likely their first time seeing a game over screen, as the damage from the opposition can be overwhelming, and they may forget that they will need items equipped and learned to be able to use potions and of course Phoenix Downs. Lastly, Ramza's higher faith can be a liability here, as he can get KO'd by the Black Mages rather quickly, and if you don't revive him in time, it will result in a game over. Coming in at number 9 for me is Golgotha Gallows. This is a hard fight for many reasons, from the sheer amount of enemies, Time Mages hasting and slowing, the Knights, and arguably the biggest threat, Gafgarian. He has a lot of HP, is fast, hits hard, not to mention Shadow Blade or Night Sword also heals him and can never miss. This one can easily be ranked higher, but for these reasons, the Gallows or Execution Site always remains one of the hardest to most FFT players, especially first timers. Gafgarian, however, is still on this list, and the last time we will face him is at Lionel Castle Gate, which brings us to our 8th hardest. Ramza is separated from the main party and has a duel with Gafgarian. There are some tricks you can do to make this fight easier, but for first timers, having to fight him one-on-one is an uphill battle. The fight outside the gate with your other party members is also no walk in the park, especially if the enemy summoner has a solid fade stat, which can devastate your characters. The archers and knights aren't as threatening, but their damage can add up, and they have the numbers advantage. For spot number 7, I'd rank this one higher, but because it was on War of the Lions and you needed multiplayer to set it up, not many people could have experienced it, but I'll give my reasons on why it's a hard fight. The Guarded Temple is among the most gruesome of the battles in Rendezvous, because you have to fight many constructs and 2 proto-constructs, and these 2 have HP in the thousands. Even the regular enemies have a high health pool, not to mention defense boost and Atheist, which will virtually negate all magic damage. This means that even using the strongest characters like Orlandeau won't solve all your problems. But wait, there's more. This is also the only battle that is timed, and if you can't defeat the 2 proto-constructs before they self-destruct, it's a game over. Because you're on the clock versus some insane enemies, I just have to include this for my top 10. My 6th spot will be controversial, and personally I didn't struggle with it that much, but it can be challenging depending on the circumstances. It is versus Cuchulainn,
this fat son of a
the final boss of Chapter 2. Despite his size, he is very fast and also has swiftness. It also doesn't help that his Nightmare can disable your party fairly quickly, not to mention his bio spells are nasty damage-wise, and they can inflict a wide variety of negative status ailments. He has around 500 HP, so rushing him down is a legitimate strategy. There will definitely be a divide for this ranking, but I still say Cuchulainn can be one of the harder fights. Number 5 to me would be versus Wheatgraf at Orban Monastery. This is different than quite a few boss fights, as you actually need to KO Wheatgraf completely. His stats are superior with his new sprite, and he can also have Hollowed Bolt, which is devastating, and the other enemy units pressuring you can make this fight even more challenging. For spot number 4 on this list is the infamous Finnath Creek or Finnath River. This area can be kinda easy or extremely challenging, depending on how many red chocobos appear on the map. On top of this, the enemies here will scale with you, so if you don't know how to properly set up your units with certain abilities or equipment, higher levels won't help you at all. People may disagree with my placements, but you can't deny that this is one of the hardest fights in the game. In third place, I have to give it to the Rendezvous Mission Brave Story. Even though it's a total of 10 battles, it's treated as one entire fight. You aren't allowed to change up your equipment or deploy other characters. On top of this, you'll have to face a variety of enemies, so being able to counter everything they throw at you can be a challenge. I would usually put this in first place, but because not everyone has played War of the Lions, I'll give the top 2 to fights we have all experienced. But before that, I have to give some honorable mentions to other battles that could have easily made this list. Since I didn't mention a lot of Chapter 1 battles, I have to give Fort Zeekton a shout out. While Argath doesn't do a lot of damage and his bravery is rather low, if auto potion triggers, this battle can easily drag on, and the knights, and especially black mages, can do a lot of damage and can KO Ramza easily. My next honorable mention is the Rendezvous Mission Nightmares, as you will face all the Lucavi besides Ultima and Elidibus, and they're also accompanied by Ultima demons. On top of having thousands of HP, they can inflict a wide variety of negative status elements, making this a fight you can't just power your way through with someone like Orlandeau. Even though these next 3 are random battles, I feel they should definitely get a mention. In chapters 2 and 3, Zurchill Falls has a really tough battle that has many mind flayers and a red chocobo. At this point, you probably won't have any items that will make you immune to Berserk and Confuse, and if these land on your party members, you'll be in for a rough time. These next 2 can occur in chapter 4, first at Balius Tor. You can face some very strong tier 2 and tier 3 monsters that can give you a fast game over. Finally, this last random battle is just devastating because of the sheer numbers. And if you want easy karma points on the FFT subreddit, be sure to take a picture of this battle and upload it there. Quality doesn't matter either, you will still get easy points. It's versus the 11 monks at Grog Hill or Heights. These monks are fast, can hit hard, and can easily overwhelm unprepared party setups. Now it's time to go back to the main list. Coming in at number 2 is Wheatgraf at Riovanes in a 2-part fight. This phase 1 for first time players is no trip to Disneyland, especially with how hard he hits and his insane ability Lightning Stab or Hollowed Bolt. Not to mention his counterattack hits very hard as well. The second phase versus Velius can absolutely devastate your party as Cyclops can easily finish you off. Not to mention, the Unholy Darkness from the Archaic Demons is painful. This is the most infamous battle in Final Fantasy Tactics history, causing most people to either give up on this game or forcing you to restart from the very beginning. This in turn is why many people recommend having multiple save files because of this soft lock. Now in my opinion, the hardest battle is the fight after Wheatgraf versus Elmdor and his assassins. First off, you need to make sure Rafa doesn't get KO'd, which isn't that easy of a task because she is controlled by the AI and it can do very questionable things. Elmdor and his assassins are also fast, mobile, and are likely to get in their turns before you. Even though you only have to bring one of the enemies into critical, it's easier said than done, as Ramza and party members start a bit further away, and if your move and jump stat are rather low, it can be hard to close the distance. All of the adversaries have quite a bit of HP, and Elmdor has first strike with 70 bravery, so going up for an attack can be dangerous. If the assassins don't KO you with their dual wield and suffocate, it can also stop you with a 100% success rate. For all these reasons, to me, this is the hardest battle in the game. This wraps up my top 10 list, along with some honorable mentions that could have easily been ranked. A lot of us know this game pretty well. Several of these battles definitely got us at some point when we were kids. Thanks again for watching, and let me know which battles gave you a hard time in the comments during your first ever playthroughs of Final Fantasy Tactics. Take care, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.